probably should start on getting into this. For those who haven't used the portal timesheet yet and you're a reviewer, I'm going to show you where you need to go to get into this. Let's see. Okay. 1 second. This will take me a second to log back in. Okay. For those of you who haven't even used the timesheet yet, once you log into CDP portal, your timesheet tracker is on the left, on the bottom left. It's a blue link. It's called Kentucky Time Tracker System. When you click on it, it's going to take you. Most all of you will not see the 2 last links I have here: assigned supervisor and summary timesheet. That is just for me, Robin, and Sean, basically. And I think Carol has access too, but basically that's just for us. So don't even worry about those 2. As supervisors, you're both going to see these 2 links. And if you first of all, if you don't see both of these links as supervisors, you need to notify me and or Carol immediately so we can make sure and get that set up for you, because you have to have these 2 if you're supervisor. For your regular timesheet entry, which the video that CDP did for you explains this in detail, how to do this. This is for your time. To approve your employee's time, you'll go to Approve Timesheet, which is right there. And I have everybody, so I always have the ability to approve. I never want to do that, but if I have to and we're in a pinch, I can always do that. But yours is just going to show your employees. So pretend that these are your employees here, and you're actually going to go in, and all you're going to do is you're going to select a little magnifying glass beside your employee, and then I'm going to pretend that I did that for Janae down here, and I'm going to pull hers up. As soon as you do it, it's going to pull in your employee's timesheet when you hit the magnifying glass to review it. Okay, so I'm going to get back out of here, and I'm going to pull Janae's up again, so I can just once again show you how. So pretend that I hit the magnifying glass, and here's what's going to pull up. It's going to pull up your employee's timesheet right here. And at the bottom, you can see you can cancel, which is going to take you back out to the screen you just had of your employees, or you can reject timesheet. And it's also going to have, whenever you review it, it's actually going to have an approve button here. So you're going to have a cancel, reject, and approve timesheet button out to the right here. Okay. And as soon as you reject it, it would go back to the employee. If you approve it, it'll go to me and Robin for review, for the final review. But I wanted to show you exactly what this looks like, what it looked like, and how you get into it. Like I said, I wanted to start with hours. The first thing you're going to do on the timesheet is you're going to check the hours. Okay. So Janae's a good guinea pig for all these other things I'm about to show you, but not the best because she's a executive. Not the best for showing the hours. Every employee you have, I'm assuming, is just going to be a regular employee eligible for overtime. So what you guys are checking first and foremost, this is what Robin and I always check. As soon as you get in the timesheet, before you look at any coding, go straight to the hours summary right here. See, there's an hour summary of everything. If you're saying that your employee has not totaled 75 hours, less or over, you need to figure out why. If they've gone below 75 hours and they have a bank up here of vacation, sick, whatever they have up here, it's wrong. You need to, I'm just going to tell you it's wrong. You need to reject the timesheet if it's below 75 hours, okay, and put in there the reason and tell the employee, hey, you've coded below 75 hours. You have hours up here to plug in to use if you have to. Something's wrong. And all you got to do is put your little explanation down here in your supervisor notes and tell them why you rejected it, and then reject the timesheet. If you go over 75 hours, that is fine, that the employee can do that, but I'm assuming you tell most of your employees they don't need to go over 75 unless it gets approved. So I'm assuming you already know the reason they've gone over 75, but they need to put a good reason in the employee notes down here why they went over 75 hours. Otherwise, Robin and I are just going to reject it because we have no idea why they went over 75. We're assuming that you guys have approved it, but it could have been that y'all just looked at it real quick and went through, but they need to have something in the box showing they went over 75 to keep it from getting rejected. If they put anything in there that's a legit reason, that's fine. Supervisor approved, had to go to a training, whatever, that's fine. But blank, I don't even know if it'll allow you to put a blank in here if you go over 75. But they need to have a reason in there. So those are the first two things you check. Are they, if they're at 75 hours, they're good. If they're over or under, they need to have good reason why. Okay. Does anybody have any questions so far? Okay. The next biggest thing, and this is probably the reason for most of our rejections, if any that we have, is the travel and time coding. Okay. So I know you guys are going to go up here probably to the time coding first, and your guys' big job is to make sure is the cost centers. Of course, Robin and I have no idea if a cost center is proper. Obviously, it's going to look weird to us if somebody in the hands department is coding to question that, but we're not going to be able to catch cost centers. If it's anything that looks legit, if somebody's a medical staff and they're coding any kind of medical cost center, we don't know if that's right or wrong. So that's your guys' main job, to make sure that these cost centers they're coding to are correct. These cost centers are function codes. Okay. After you guys have done that review, what Robin and I do look at is you guys need to go down here to the travel, which I'm assuming you do for coding. But you guys always need to make sure these travel codes match the time codes up here. If there is one travel code down here that does not reflect a time code above, then we're going to reject it. So for example, Janae down here has 8:59:129W. So I better see a time that says 8:59:129W. Sure enough, she does all the way across. If it just has 1 hour, that's fine, but it needs to have that coding, or we will automatically reject it, and we'll put the Y down here. Me and Robin will. It'll go back to your employee, and then you'll have to go reapprove it again. So always check the codings. If even one travel coding doesn't reflect up here, we're going to reject the code. We're going to reject it. I believe that's the only thing that we would reject the travel and time coding for. Also be careful. I've noticed that some of you will put, or some of the employees or whatever, it slips by on the L's and the out of districts. Whenever your employee goes out of district, just remember for travel purposes, it's always going to be where they benefited. So if they go to a conference and they're further educating themselves as a supervisor or as an employee in their particular field, normally that's going to get coded to the normal cost center that they had before. And the county code that they do is more than likely going to be the county code they currently work out of. So if they're a Casey County employee, they normally do all their hours code to Casey County. If their training really benefits that, I got no problem if you put C or if they put, or B, I'm sorry, county code B down here for that benefit. But if they've gone out of district for the training, the time coding needs to reflect L. Okay, if Robin and I catch they've gone out of district over here and they say they've gone some location that's not inside the district and there is no L coding up here for out of district under the time, it's an automatic rejection. Okay, so please look for that. They have to code L. You can't code L down here. Okay, travel does not allow an L code. I mean, it will allow you to put it, but it's wrong. If we see an L coding in the travel down here, we can't do that. That's an automatic rejection. So if they go out of district, they need to code some piece of their time to L up here, but never their travel coding. It's either going to be whatever you deem got benefited. So if you think the whole district got benefited by their travel, you code K down here. If you think just their county, whatever, the particular county they're in, A through J, whatever that is. But those are the three big things. Or the two big things under travel. Make sure their coding down here matches up here, and make sure they don't code L down here, and anything out of district is coded to L up in the time section up here. Is that clear as mud? Does anybody have any questions about that, about the travel and time coding?
They muted.
But they are, but they have the ability to. Hold on, let me make sure. Let's see how I get her back here. I muted off for a second. Does anybody have any questions so far? Okay. Apparently everybody's okay. I'm gonna mute everybody again. The loud pitches. They can mute themselves. Don't worry. Okay.
I have a question.
Yes. Go on ahead.
When you're saying you code the L to the time, is that the whole time you're at the conference, or is that just your travel time?
No, that's going to be the time at the conference and in the travel piece of it. So if you're going out of district, for example, somebody sent you to Louisville, okay? So the time there and the time out of district is going to get coded to L because you've done a training out of district. For example. That's correct. If it's like I said, if you're worried about a benefit right now, we're talking about that would just be for your travel coding. So if your supervisor's like, hey, you're going to Louisville, but you know it's directly related to a program we're doing in this county, like, and it's inside district, like I said, let's keep using Casey as the guinea pig. You would code, in my opinion, you'd code B to the travel. But yes, all time represented, travel and the time you're there for time purposes would be to L because that you're actually physically outside of district.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? We'll continue on. Okay. I said this before, but remember, if you reject down here. Always leave any notes for that employee to keep them from having to call you, just anything to slow you down, okay? So leave a good note where they can fix their timesheet or whatever without them having to call you. It'll leave you quite a bit of room in here to do that. I think it even goes past this mark down here. You can leave a big note in here if you need to make sure they get their time coded correctly and it's something they can remember in the future to not do it again. If you need to leave me or Robin a note, please leave in the supervisor note so we can see. You can say, hey, this was a weird coding. Like, for example, I know a couple of you, and I can't remember who it is. I know there's a couple of you that don't match, purposefully do not match some of their travel coding to their time. They've been told not to do that, and I've looked at it, it's fine. But we don't know all those who do that. The majority rule, 99% of the time, is you have to, if you have a travel coding, it has to match a time coding up here. I know there's a couple of you that don't. Please leave if you're a supervisor and that happens, please leave a note down here and say, hey, I approve my employee's time. They are this employee is allowed to do this because this is how we code, or however you want to say that. And then I'll make a note next time to remember that employee. That's what that employee is allowed to code that way. So we're going to need communication though, because unless we know that's going to get rejected. But also leave as good notes as you can whenever you're reviewing these, if you think we need to, if you think there's some kind of weird thing on your employee's timesheet that is approved by you. Okay, last thing is, and this may be something a little new for you guys, but the last thing one last thing me and Robin review is stipends. If your employee, and this is going to probably really appeal to, I don't know if Sylvia's on the call, this is going to really be a big one for the hand staff, but cell phone stipends. If one of your employees has a stipend, first of all, you need to know if they have a stipend. If you're unsure whether anybody you approve a timesheet has a stipend, let me or Robin know, and I'll be sure to send you a list of your employees, particular employees that you approve that have the stipend. It's not a major list. We can send it to you. We don't want to publish it because, it's not really everybody's business to know everybody's stipend, including ourselves. So if you request your employees, I'll send your particular employees the stipend amount they have and everything. But the last thing you need to check for you approve the timesheet is you need to check if they put their stipend down. And by the way, the stipend goes in the travel section down here. You need to make sure they put their stipend down, they put the correct amount. Okay. So for example, Janae down here's put 25. So this must mean that she knows she gets $50 a month and she split it between two payrolls. So she's done $25 for this payroll. They need to put it under the miscellaneous column here. See, it says total miscellaneous amount at the bottom here, the amount. They don't need to put any kind of to and from. All they're required to put is the cost center, function code, and remember, you do need to make sure including on your own, they need to change the minor object, because this means telephone to 341. These minor objects are important. So 326, 327, of course, 326 means in-state travel, 327 is out-of-state travel. I know we were all very coddled with Sean's before. He had all this pre-set up in his timesheet. That's no longer the case. I think the default will always be in-state travel. So majority of the time you're going to get it right, but just be careful. If it's out-of-state travel, this needs to be 327. If it's a telephone, it needs to be 341. And on the rare occasions where you pay for like a registration fee at a conference, this may end up being 382. But we're not going to talk about that one. I don't want you to be confused. But mainly you're going to use 326, 327, 341 if you have a stipend. So that's what you're looking at. Did my employee have a stipend? Is their amount in here correct? Did they put times? If they have to put times in here, or it won't even accept it. And then did they put the proper coding? Because if we see an employee didn't have a stipend, or they put the wrong amount, we're going to automatically reject it and say, hey, you put the wrong coding, you put the wrong stipend, blah blah blah, back and they'll have to go back and re-enter the stipend. Because that's no longer something that automatically comes back. Unfortunately, with the timesheets right now, at least to my knowledge, I think that once you're done with the time period, I think it will bring over all of your prior period cost centers and function codes under time. Include all of these codes right here that you're seeing right here under timesheet. I think it brings over every single one. It will not bring over your prior entries. But it will, I think, bring them over, but only based on your prior timesheet. So, for example, if you just said, you had a very non-eventful week and you went on vacation and you only had to code to one cost center across the board, unfortunately, because that was your prior pay period, the next time you bring it over and you submit it, it's only going to have that one line. So it's whatever you did on the prior timesheet. So, for example, this is Janae's prior timesheet. I guarantee you she had all of these available to her, every coding on the next timesheet. Unfortunately, for the travel, that's not the case. You'll have to re-enter each time, and that includes the stipend, which is why we're telling you to please look at these stipends. We don't want people to get shorted. We don't want people to miss. And like I said, Rob and I can probably catch most of these, but we're not going to be able to catch them every single time because there's multiple stipends and multiple amounts. So please help us with that. That's all I have for the stipend coding. Do y'all have anything about the stipend coding before I mention one more thing? Everybody good? Okay. The last thing, we want to talk to everybody about leave codes. You may want to know this, and your employees may have a question before they want to call and ask us. Your leave, if you notice up above, we see all the leave totals. Your employees, just like you, will have a vacation and sick leave. Your executive, you have comp hours, but vacation and sick leave is mainly what your employees are going to see up here. Now, but your employees are going to wonder why this looks like something that, if like for example, if Carol or me or Robin told somebody a sick and vacation update during a time period, and we're always going to give them what they have currently. The only way that you're going to see exactly what you have currently to work from is you're going to have to wait until the Friday pay date. So, for example, we're at the end of this period. Whenever Robin and I process these timesheets next week, we're getting into Monday or Tuesday of next week, your sick and vacation will not be updated yet next week until Friday, whenever the paychecks run. So don't trust these accruals until the Friday pay date if you want an up-to-date number. Otherwise, you'll have to assume it's the last paycheck or the last pay period accruals. It's not correct. Okay. And the reason Marvin and them did that, of course, is because whenever we process the payroll is when those updates, and we don't process, and it's not fully cleared until the Friday check day.
You can't use it till you
So-
actually accrued it.
So you can't actually use it until you've accrued it. So you need to really wait until Friday to know exactly how much you have, to know how much you can use and is in your bucket. Okay. Now, of course, if you're not worried about your bucket and you know it's got plenty in there, you could always technically use what you had before, but you just don't have your updates yet until that Friday check day. So if the employee's probably gonna come to you at some point and have that question. We're just trying to keep we're trying to keep a big flood. So if you need to tell your employees that's fine. That's going to be something they're going to have a question about, because it's not going to look up to date until the Friday check day. Okay, does anybody have any questions now about anything I've said? That's how me and Robin review. That's how we'd like you guys to review. If you ever have any questions about something about your employee or some type of coding or something with this timesheet, you need to reach out to me. I've gotten pretty good at this point with this. I've been using this for many, many pay periods now. So if you have any issues with access or just getting in here or approving something or what you need to look for, or just coding your own time, you need to reach out and ask me. And if you know of anybody, including yourself or employees, that haven't got access, you need to reach out to me and Carol by the end of this week. Forget by the end of this week. You need to reach out
Today.
by the end of the day. I'm sorry, by the end of the day, if possible, to let us know who still doesn't have access. You need to send us an email so we can correct that. Does anybody have any questions at all about anything? Your time, entry, anything?
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Can we go back to look at previous timesheets at all? Is that an option?
Yes. Let me show you where that's at above. So once again, I'll use Janae as a guinea pig because she's been on here for a while. For example, this is her prior timesheet. See how it says 9/22/10/5? I wanted to use that because it showed a full timesheet. That's why I wanted y'all to see a full timesheet. You can go up here under once you go to your time entry at yours. You can even do that for your employees. So when you're reviewing, you can go back and look at prior timesheets. So under your timesheet entry is going to look just like this. Just click the back arrow and it'll just keep taking you. Hopefully it did not log me out for taking too long. I'm sure it did. Hang on just a second. Or it's just taking a second. That's not good. Hang on just a second, sorry. It's on right there. Okay, I'll go to mine for a second. Okay, so right now I'm in the current pay period. Okay, I can go back to this last one. I can go back to the one before that. I can go back to the one before that. As many time periods as you've had, as we've approved and sent through and processed through here, you will have access to. Okay, and as an added bonus, if you ever need, for whatever reason, a timesheet printed off, I mean, technically you can go do it yourself right here. You can just print the screen. But me and Robin have copies now that we get automatic copies every time we process payroll that we have scanned, that basically are scanned into PDF. We can always get you a timesheet if you need to, whatever, to submit to your accountant or to send to the bank or just whatever you need. But we have timesheets stored as well. But yes, you can access your prior pay periods. Anything else?
Will the timesheets be coming through the email? I'm assuming, is that right? Or
Well, okay. So your timesheet notifications will come through email. So for example, if you let's start with the employee. The employee, when they submit their timesheet to their supervisor, it's gonna send their supervisor an email and say the timesheet, something like the timesheet's ready for your review. Okay. Then you have to go log into Portal and go to that icon I was talking about, and I'll show you a second again. Let me go back to the main page. So if you're a supervisor and you got an email, hey, time to review whoever. You'll go to approved timesheet, your time, and then it'll show you. You'll find the employee that's in there, and click on the magnifying glass and go review.
Okay.
But no, it does not come as an actual physical attachment. It just gives you a notification. And anytime you leave a note or something, it's going to send, I'm pretty almost 100% positive this is the case. Anytime you leave a note, it's going to send a notification. So if you reject it, it's going to let the employee know that it got rejected, and they can go log in and go in their portal and look at the note on why it got rejected. So anytime you reject or approve, it's going to send a note. Any more questions? Don't be shy if you have any questions. We're going to have this recorded, so you can refer back to this. I'll have either me or Sean will send this out or post this video where you can send it to anybody, any supervisors you know that wanted a copy, or they can reach out to me. And any questions you have, call me or send me an email. I'll be happy to get back to you. I'm trying to resolve as many questions as possible before we hit the end of this week. So I'd love to have all questions submitted by the end of the day today if possible, if not as soon as possible, to get all these. Me and that Carol and Robin and Sean all know there's going to be probably a few kinks that come there. We're just trying to get ahead of the storm before it happens, and we know after this first payroll or two it'll go pretty smooth. So we're just trying to get all the kinks out before the middle of this week. Any more questions? Okay, thank you everybody for being on here. I appreciate you taking the time. Like I said, I'll send a link or video, or I'll send something to you in an email letting you know how this has been recorded and where you can get it. And I'll share it with all the other supervisors as well so they can have a copy. But please reach out to me as soon as possible if you have any more questions or have any issues with getting into this payroll system. Appreciate it. Thank you.